Have you ever wondered why some people die so peacefully in their sleep, while others struggle at the end? What if I told you that in 1944, a stenographer who had transcribed thousands of psychic readings suddenly stopped typing mid-sentence because what she was hearing about death during sleep was so shocking that even she couldn't believe it? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. What happened that day in Virginia Beach would remain buried in archives for over 80 years, hidden away in the Association for Research and Enlightenment, containing secrets about consciousness and death that most people will never discover in their lifetime. This wasn't just another psychic reading. This was reading 57562 from Edgar Cayce, America's most thoroughly documented psychic, whose 14,000 recorded sessions represent the most comprehensive collection of spiritual insights in American history. The stenographer, Gladys Davis, had heard it all before. She'd transcribed countless readings about health, relationships, and spiritual matters. But when Cayce began revealing what actually happens to our consciousness when we die in our sleep, something so profound came through that it stopped her cold. Has this ever happened to you, experiencing something so unexpected that it completely shifted your understanding of reality? What makes this even more compelling is that these aren't just stories or interpretations. Every word was professionally documented, witnessed by doctors, lawyers, clergy, and everyday people seeking answers. These transcripts have been sitting in Virginia Beach archives, waiting for someone to connect the dots between what Cayce revealed about sleep, consciousness, and the moment of death. Think about your own sleep experiences for a moment. Have you ever had that strange sensation of floating above your body during sleep? Those incredibly vivid dreams where you visit places you've never been, yet they feel more familiar than your own home. What about those nights when you wake up questioning whether what you experienced was actually real? Stay with me until the end, because according to Cayce's documented readings, these experiences aren't random neural firings or mere psychological phenomena. What you're about to discover might surprise you. These seemingly ordinary sleep experiences are actually preparing you for something far greater than you realize. Cayce revealed that every single night when you close your eyes, your consciousness embarks on a journey that serves as practice for the ultimate spiritual transition. The difference between sleep and death, according to his readings, comes down to one crucial element that determines whether your consciousness returns to your body or continues on to higher spiritual dimensions. The woman whose case shocked that stenographer in 1944 had been unknowingly attending what Cayce called soul school during her sleep for months before her peaceful transition. Her consciousness had been traveling to spiritual realms, learning from advanced souls, and gradually preparing for a journey that would forever change how we understand the connection between sleep, death, and consciousness itself. But this revelation was just the beginning of what Cayce uncovered about the hidden relationship between our nightly sleep experiences and our eventual spiritual graduation from physical existence. The fact that you've stayed through this entire exploration tells me you recognize there's more to reality than meets the eye. Subscribe to dive deeper into consciousness development and profound spiritual insights with me. This woman's name was Helen Morrison, and her case became one of the most documented examples of conscious spiritual preparation in Cayce's entire collection of readings. What made Helen's situation so extraordinary wasn't just that she died peacefully in her sleep. It was the hidden transformation that had been taking place behind the scenes for over 6 months before her physical transition. Through reading 57562, Cayce revealed that Helen's consciousness had been making nightly journeys to what he described as spiritual realms, where advanced souls were literally teaching her about the transition process. Think about the implications of this for a moment. While her body rested each night, her soul was attending classes, learning to release fears about leaving physical form, and gradually acclimating to higher spiritual dimensions. This wasn't a random occurrence or wishful thinking. Cayce's revelations uncovered 7 specific truths about consciousness during sleep that completely reshape our understanding of death itself. He revealed how our consciousness operates independently during sleep, why certain souls deliberately choose to transition during their sleep state, and the crucial role of what ancient texts call the silver cord in determining whether we return to our body or continue to spiritual existence. But Helen's case represents something even more profound about the hidden truth of our nightly experiences. For 6 months, she unknowingly participated in what Cayce termed soul school, an actual educational process where her consciousness learned directly from spiritually advanced beings. These weren't symbolic dreams or metaphorical experiences. According to the documented reading, Helen's awareness was literally traveling to spiritual dimensions, receiving preparation and guidance for her eventual journey beyond physical existence. What makes this revelation so impactful is the realization that this type of spiritual education might be happening to more people than we ever imagined. Those vivid dreams where you meet people you somehow recognize but have never seen before, those nights when you wake up feeling like you've been somewhere important but can't quite remember where. These experiences might represent your own consciousness participating in spiritual learning that prepares you for transformation. The journey Helen experienced challenges every assumption we have about death being sudden or unexpected. Her transition was the culmination of months of conscious preparation, guided by spiritual teachers who helped her understand that physical death represents graduation rather than ending. Her peaceful departure became evidence that souls can work behind the scenes of our regular awareness, making decisions and preparations that serve our highest spiritual evolution. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because Cayce's readings reveal that Helen's experience wasn't unique. There are specific signs and patterns that indicate when someone's consciousness is preparing for spiritual transition, and understanding these patterns can completely change how we view both sleep and death. Write in the comments, Soul School is real if this resonates with your own sleep experiences. The revelations become even more extraordinary when we examine what Cayce discovered about consciousness separation during our deepest sleep states. According to his documented readings, every single night, your consciousness naturally detaches from your physical body and journeys through what he called the borderland, a realm that exists between our physical world and purely spiritual dimensions. This isn't poetic language or metaphorical description. Cayce was documenting actual spiritual travel that happens to every person during deep sleep cycles. What makes this discovery so profound is the hidden truth behind those deeply meaningful dreams where you encounter deceased loved ones. In reading 57542, Cayce revealed specific cases where sleeping individuals were literally visiting deceased relatives, receiving direct guidance and preparation for their own eventual transition. These weren't symbolic dreams created by grief or wishful thinking. They were documented encounters where consciousness traveled to spiritual realms for education and comfort. The impact of understanding this completely transforms how we view those powerful dreams where a departed grandmother appears with important messages, or when we wake up feeling like we've had a meaningful conversation with someone who passed years ago. According to Cayce's findings, these experiences represent your consciousness making actual contact during its nightly journey through spiritual dimensions, receiving guidance that prepares you for your own spiritual evolution. Behind the scenes of what we consider ordinary sleep, our awareness is participating in a complex educational process. While your body rests and repairs, your consciousness explores realms where spiritual learning takes place, where connections with departed souls provide comfort and wisdom, and where preparation for eventual transition occurs naturally and gradually. This nightly journey through the borderland serves as ongoing spiritual education that most people never consciously remember. The credibility of these revelations becomes undeniable when you consider the professional documentation behind every single reading. These weren't casual conversations or vague interpretations. Professional stenographers recorded every word. Hundreds of witnesses, including doctors, lawyers, and clergy, observed these sessions, and every transcript was archived at the Association for Research and Enlightenment in Virginia Beach. Many recipients later verified the accuracy of information they received, creating an unprecedented collection of documented spiritual insights. What emerges from this evidence is a complete transformation in how we understand the relationship between sleep, consciousness, and death. The decisions our souls make during these nightly journeys, the preparations that happen beyond our conscious awareness, and the gradual acclimation to spiritual dimensions all work together to ensure that when physical transition occurs, it happens with wisdom and readiness rather than fear or confusion. Now, I want to explore the most shocking aspect of these documented cases, because Cayce revealed that some souls actually choose their exact moment of death during sleep, orchestrating the timing through spiritual guidance in ways that will completely change how you view peaceful transitions. Write in the comments, consciousness travels, if you've experienced meaningful dreams with departed loved ones. This revelation about timing completely reframes everything we thought we knew about death during sleep. In reading 26-286, Cayce uncovered that the soul doesn't simply stop functioning when the body ceases during sleep. Instead, there's a gradual withdrawal process where consciousness slowly detaches from physical form over several hours, sometimes even days, before the final physical death occurs. This gentle separation makes the entire transition so subtle that the individual often remains unaware they're transitioning until they're already fully established in spiritual existence. This hidden truth behind the scenes explains something that healthcare workers have observed for decades but never fully understood. Those final days when patients who are about to die peacefully in their sleep begin speaking to invisible presences, describing beautiful places they're visiting, or expressing excitement about going somewhere. Wonderful. These aren't hallucinations or medication effects. According to Cayce's documented findings, these individuals are already beginning their conscious withdrawal from physical existence, making contact with spiritual guides and deceased loved ones who facilitate the crossing. The connection we've created through these discoveries means something to me. If these revelations about sleep as spiritual practice have touched you, Hitting Like ensures more souls find this transformative understanding. The transformation in understanding becomes complete when you realize what Cayce revealed in reading 7541. Every single night when you sleep, you're literally practicing for death. Your consciousness leaves your physical body, travels through spiritual dimensions, and returns before morning. The only fundamental difference between sleep and death lies in one crucial element that determines whether your awareness comes back to physical form or continues its journey into permanent spiritual existence. This element is what ancient texts describe as the silver cord, an energetic connection that stretches to allow consciousness to travel during sleep while maintaining the ability to return. During nightly sleep practice, this cord remains intact, functioning like a spiritual lifeline that guides consciousness back to the body. When death occurs during sleep, this same cord is consciously severed by the soul when it determines the time has come for permanent transition to spiritual existence. Understanding this process reveals why peaceful death during sleep represents such spiritual wisdom. The soul, through months or even years of nightly practice, becomes completely comfortable with consciousness separation. The gradual withdrawal that precedes physical death allows for gentle acclimation rather than sudden shock. Those mysterious conversations with invisible presences indicate that spiritual guides are already present, offering comfort and guidance through the final stages of earthly transition. The mindset shift this creates is profound. Death during sleep isn't random or unfortunate, but represents the culmination of extensive spiritual preparation that happens beyond our conscious awareness. Every peaceful transition becomes evidence of a soul that has mastered the art of conscious separation through countless nights of practice. Now, I want to examine the most compelling documented cases where people experience this preparation process firsthand, because these real-life examples prove that consciousness operates far beyond what conventional understanding suggests. Write in the comments, nightly practice, if this changes how you view your own sleep experiences. Those incredibly vivid dreams, where you wake up questioning whether they actually happened, represent something far more significant than your brain processing daily experiences. When you dream of unfamiliar places that somehow feel more familiar than your own home, or encounter people you've never met but somehow recognize, you're experiencing what Cayce's readings reveal as actual spiritual journeys your soul takes while your body rests. These aren't random neural firings or subconscious imagination. They're documented spiritual travel to realms that exist beyond physical reality. The transformation in understanding becomes crystal clear through the case of Robert Patterson, documented in reading 13683. Robert came to Cayce because he was genuinely terrified of dying in his sleep, not because of any health concerns, but because of recurring dreams that felt more real than his waking life. Night after night, he found himself in ethereal landscapes of breathtaking beauty, meeting people he had never seen before, but somehow recognized at a soul level. These experiences left him feeling more rested and peaceful than he had experienced in years, yet they also filled him with an inexplicable fear about what they might mean for his mortality. What Robert didn't understand was that his consciousness was naturally gifted at what Cayce called conscious projection during sleep. The hidden truth behind his nightly journeys was that Robert's soul was actually visiting spiritual realms, where souls go after physical death. The people he encountered weren't dream characters created by his subconscious. They were advanced souls who were teaching him about higher dimensions of existence, preparing him for spiritual evolution that would serve him both in this lifetime and beyond. The impact of this revelation completely shifted Robert's mindset from fear to understanding. Rather than being something to dread, his extraordinary sleep experiences were evidence of advanced spiritual abilities that most people possess, but rarely access consciously. His nightly travels through spiritual dimensions were providing him with direct education about the nature of existence beyond physical form, guided by souls who had already completed their earthly transitions and now served as teachers for those still incarnated. Behind the scenes of what appeared to be disturbing dreams, Robert was participating in an advanced spiritual curriculum that prepared his consciousness for eventual evolution beyond physical limitations. The decisions his soul made to engage in these journeys, the willingness to explore realms that challenged his earthly understanding, and the gradual acclimation to spiritual realities all served his highest development, both in the present moment and for his eternal journey. This case illustrates how consciousness operates far beyond conventional understanding, accessing realms of education and growth that remain hidden from our waking awareness, yet profoundly influence our spiritual development and readiness for eventual transition. Now, I want to explore why certain souls specifically choose to transition during sleep, and how this choice reflects advanced spiritual wisdom that completely changes how we should view peaceful death. Write in the comments, I recognize them, if you've had dreams where you met people you somehow knew but had never seen before. Robert's transformation from fear to understanding reveals the hidden truth behind these extraordinary sleep experiences. Rather than being something to dread, his nightly journeys were carefully designed educational experiences that familiarized his consciousness with spiritual realms he would eventually inhabit permanently. The advanced souls he encountered weren't random dream figures. They were spiritual teachers, preparing him for evolution that transcends physical limitations. His dreams served as a comprehensive curriculum for consciousness development that most people never consciously access. This revelation opens the door to understanding something even more profound about the timing of peaceful death during sleep. In Reading 1962, Cayce uncovered that dying during sleep represents a deliberate soul decision to avoid trauma and fear that can interfere with smooth spiritual transition. The soul, working through subconscious wisdom, actually orchestrates the precise timing of physical death to occur when conscious mind fears and resistance are at their lowest levels. This isn't coincidence or medical circumstance, it's conscious spiritual planning that demonstrates the soul's infinite intelligence. The impact of this understanding completely reframes how we should view death during sleep. Rather than seeing it as random misfortune or unexpected tragedy, Cayce's readings reveal it as evidence of advanced spiritual wisdom and careful preparation. The soul, in its infinite understanding, chooses the path of least resistance for its transition to higher dimensions of existence. This choice reflects months or even years of behind-the-scenes preparation, where consciousness becomes comfortable with separation from physical form through nightly practice sessions. When someone transitions peacefully in their sleep, their soul has made a sophisticated decision based on readiness, spiritual development, and optimal conditions for crossing into permanent spiritual existence. The gentle nature of sleep-death indicates that the consciousness has already become accustomed to operating independently of physical form through countless nightly journeys. The timing represents perfect coordination between spiritual readiness and optimal conditions for transition. This wisdom becomes even more evident when you consider how sleep naturally quiets the rational mind that might otherwise resist or fear the transition process. During sleep states, consciousness operates from deeper spiritual awareness rather than surface-level fears about death or leaving loved ones behind. The soul utilizes this natural state of expanded awareness to facilitate the smoothest possible crossing into spiritual dimensions. The mindset shift this creates is extraordinary. Peaceful death during sleep becomes evidence of a soul that has completed its earthly curriculum and graduated to advanced spiritual education in higher realms. Rather than tragedy, it represents conscious completion and wise transition. Now, I want to examine the most documented and verified case that proves this spiritual orchestration actually happens, because this real-life example will show you exactly how souls prepare for and choose their moment of peaceful transition. Write in the comments, soul wisdom, if this changes how you view peaceful transitions during sleep. The most compelling documented case that proves this spiritual orchestration comes from 1943, when Margaret Thompson approached Cayce with concerns about her elderly father, William's increasingly vivid dreams. For several months, William had been experiencing what he described as visitation dreams, where his deceased wife Sarah would appear to him, showing him breathtakingly beautiful gardens and peaceful places while gently encouraging him not to fear what was coming. These weren't typical grief dreams or wishful memories. They were so real and consistent that William would wake up describing specific details about spiritual locations and conversations that felt more authentic than his waking experiences. If these revelations about consciousness have resonated with you, I'd love to welcome you into our community of spiritual explorers. Subscribe to continue discovering the hidden truths about our eternal spiritual journey together. Through reading 397615, Cayce confirmed what Margaret suspected, but couldn't fully believe. Sarah's spirit was indeed visiting William, actively preparing him for his own transition by revealing the spiritual realms where they would be reunited. Sarah was serving as a spiritual guide, helping William understand that death represented a beautiful beginning rather than an ending. The impact of these visits was transforming William's entire mindset about mortality, replacing his natural fears with genuine excitement about rejoining his beloved wife. The hidden truth behind these encounters became evident in William's remarkable transformation during his final weeks. Rather than growing weaker or more fearful as his health declined, he seemed more at peace than he had been in years. He would often mention the beautiful places he was visiting in his dreams, describing gardens of incredible beauty and expressing genuine excitement about seeing Sarah again. His daughter Margaret watched in amazement as her father's journey toward death became filled with anticipation rather than dread. Exactly 3 weeks after Cayce's reading, William died peacefully in his sleep with a smile on his face that Margaret described as looking like he was greeting an old friend. The timing wasn't coincidental. It represented the culmination of careful spiritual preparation orchestrated behind the scenes by Sarah's spirit and William's own soul wisdom. His peaceful transition validated everything Cayce had revealed about how consciousness prepares for death through gradual acclimation and spiritual guidance. William's case demonstrates how deceased loved ones can serve as transition guides, making decisions to help prepare souls for their crossing, while ensuring the process occurs with love, comfort, and spiritual understanding, rather than fear or confusion. The transformation from apprehension to anticipation shows how proper spiritual preparation can turn death into a conscious graduation, rather than an unwelcome ending. Now, I want to explore what Cayce revealed about the actual mechanics of this transition process, because understanding how consciousness separates from physical form during sleep versus permanent death reveals the most profound secret about human existence. Write in the comments, "Beautiful beginning," if you've ever sensed the presence of a departed loved one preparing you for something important. The mechanics behind William's transformation reveal something extraordinary about how consciousness prepares for its ultimate journey. In reading 2724, Cayce uncovered that consciousness doesn't suddenly abandon the physical body when death occurs. Instead, there are what he called practice departures that begin occurring weeks or even months before actual physical death. During these rehearsal sessions, the soul gradually becomes accustomed to existing without physical form, learning to navigate spiritual dimensions while still maintaining its connection to earthly existence. This hidden process explains why William's final weeks were filled with increasing peace and excitement rather than fear. His consciousness had been practicing separation from physical form during those visitation dreams with Sarah, becoming comfortable with the idea of permanent spiritual existence. Each night brought him closer to readiness, as his soul learned to operate independently of physical limitations while receiving guidance and reassurance from spiritual teachers. The revelation becomes even more profound when you understand what Cayce disclosed in reading 575627 about the precision behind death timing during sleep. Some individuals actually choose their exact moment of transition after receiving detailed spiritual guidance about optimal timing for their soul's evolution. This timing often coincides with specific astrological configurations that support spiritual advancement, completion of important karmic lessons, or moments when their departure will serve the highest good for everyone involved. Think about the implications of this discovery. Your loved ones who passed peacefully in their sleep weren't victims of random medical circumstances or cruel fate. According to Cayce's documented findings, they worked collaboratively with spiritual guides and higher wisdom to ensure their transition occurred at the absolutely perfect moment for their soul's journey and spiritual development. The decisions made behind the scenes involved careful Coordination between earthly completion and spiritual readiness. This spiritual orchestration operates through levels of consciousness that transcend our everyday awareness. The soul, guided by advanced spiritual teachers and its own inner wisdom, evaluates multiple factors including earthly lesson completion, optimal timing for spiritual advancement, the readiness of loved ones to handle the transition, and cosmic conditions that support smooth crossing into higher dimensions. The impact of understanding this completely transforms how we view death during sleep. Rather than tragic accidents or medical failures, these peaceful transitions represent successful completion of earthly curriculum and conscious graduation to advanced spiritual education. The gentle nature of sleep death reflects the soul's wisdom in choosing the path of least resistance for its evolutionary journey. Now, I want to examine what happens to consciousness immediately after this carefully orchestrated transition occurs, because Cayce's readings reveal that death is just the beginning of an even more extraordinary phase of existence. Write in the comments, perfect timing, if you now see peaceful sleep transitions as evidence of spiritual wisdom rather than random occurrence. What happens after this carefully orchestrated transition reveals an even deeper layer of spiritual mechanics that most people never consider. Those individuals who experience the most vivid and meaningful dreams, or who regularly have out-of-body experiences during sleep, aren't just lucky dreamers or people with active imaginations. In reading 57543, Cayce explained that these individuals are often spiritually advanced souls who incarnated with natural gifts for conscious projection. Their extraordinary sleep experiences aren't random neural firings or psychological phenomena. They're actual spiritual journeys that serve as ongoing preparation for their eventual conscious transition. This revelation completely changes how we should view those people in our lives who always seem to have the most incredible dream stories. When someone consistently reports flying dreams, visits to otherworldly locations, or meaningful conversations with deceased relatives, they're demonstrating abilities that Cayce described as markers of advanced spiritual development. Reading 26289 revealed that certain souls specifically choose to incarnate with enhanced abilities to travel consciously during sleep states, bringing advanced spiritual skills into physical existence. The hidden truth behind these abilities becomes even more fascinating when you understand that they can be developed and strengthened through specific practices. In reading 262, Cayce disclosed how meditation and prayer before sleep significantly enhance the soul's capacity for conscious travel during sleep states. This practice doesn't just improve dream recall or create more peaceful sleep. It actually prepares consciousness for eventual death transition by making it much smoother and more conscious. This discovery explains why virtually every major spiritual tradition throughout history has emphasized evening prayers and pre-sleep meditation. These practices aren't just for relaxation or stress relief, they're sophisticated training programs for consciousness development. When you meditate before sleep, you're essentially teaching your awareness to remain active and conscious during the natural separation process that occurs every night. The impact of this understanding transforms your nightly routine from passive rest into active spiritual education. Behind the scenes of what appears to be simple sleep preparation, you're actually developing the same skills that ensure conscious and peaceful transition when physical death eventually occurs. The decisions you make about evening spiritual practice directly influence your soul's readiness for its ultimate journey beyond physical existence. People who maintain consistent meditation and prayer practices before sleep often report increased dream vividness, more meaningful spiritual experiences during sleep, and a general sense of spiritual connection that extends throughout their waking hours. They're unknowingly participating in advanced consciousness training that serves both their current spiritual development and their preparation for eventual transition. Now, I want to share one of the most remarkable documented cases where someone's years of spiritual practice directly influenced their conscious death experience, proving that this preparation actually works in the most profound way possible. Write in the comments, consciousness training. If you're inspired to develop your own evening spiritual practices for enhanced sleep experiences, the power of this conscious preparation becomes undeniably clear through the remarkable case of Dorothy Williams, documented in 1942 when her meditation group approached Cayce seeking understanding. About her recent peaceful transition, Dorothy had been a dedicated member of their prayer and meditation circle for over a decade, maintaining consistent evening spiritual practices that had become the foundation of her daily routine. Her sudden yet peaceful death during sleep left her spiritual community wondering about the connection between her years of devoted practice and the extraordinary serenity of her final moments. In reading 26277, Cayce revealed something that completely transformed their understanding of Dorothy's spiritual journey. Her years of meditation and spiritual study hadn't just been personal development exercises, they had been sophisticated preparation that allowed her consciousness to remain fully aware and active during her transition from physical to spiritual existence. The meditation practices she had maintained before sleep each night had trained her awareness to stay conscious during the natural separation process, making her death a fully conscious graduation rather than an unconscious crossing. If this exploration of Edgar Cayce's findings has shifted your perspective on sleep and death, a simple like helps more people discover these life-changing insights about consciousness and spiritual transition. The hidden truth behind Dorothy's peaceful transition revealed an even more extraordinary outcome of her spiritual preparation. Cayce disclosed that Dorothy's dedication to consciousness development had earned her the remarkable privilege of becoming what he called a transition guide for other souls who were crossing over from physical to spiritual existence. Her years of spiritual discipline and conscious awareness training had prepared her not just for her own transition, but qualified her to serve as a helper and teacher for others making the same journey. This transformation from student to teacher represents one of the most profound revelations about the impact of consistent spiritual practice on our ultimate destiny. Dorothy's decision to maintain evening meditation hadn't just improved her earthly spiritual experience, it had prepared her consciousness for advanced spiritual service that would continue long after her physical existence ended. Behind the scenes of what appeared to be personal spiritual development, she had been preparing for a role that would allow her to guide and comfort other souls during their most vulnerable moments. The implications of Dorothy's case extend far beyond individual spiritual development. Her journey demonstrates how conscious preparation during physical existence directly influences the soul's capacity for service in spiritual dimensions. The mindset shift this creates is extraordinary. Our evening spiritual practices aren't just for current peace and spiritual growth, but are actually training for roles of spiritual service that await us beyond physical existence. Dorothy's transformation from meditation student to transition guide proves that the work we do to develop consciousness during physical life creates opportunities for advanced spiritual service that most people never imagine possible. Now, I want to explore what Cayce revealed about how you can begin developing these same abilities right now, because his readings provide specific guidance for anyone seeking to prepare their consciousness for this ultimate spiritual advancement. Write in the comments, Transition Guide, if you feel called to develop your spiritual practice for service beyond this lifetime. Dorothy's journey from dedicated student to advanced spiritual guide illustrates a profound truth that Cayce revealed about the hidden potential of our nightly sleep experiences. According to his readings, every single night offers an extraordinary opportunity to practice conscious spiritual travel, meet with guides and teachers, and systematically prepare your consciousness for eventual evolution beyond physical form. What most people consider simple downtime for. Bodily rest is actually graduate school for your soul, providing advanced education that serves both your current spiritual development and your preparation for ultimate transition. The transformation from viewing sleep as passive rest to recognizing it as active spiritual education creates entirely new possibilities for conscious development. In Reading 57542, Cayce provided remarkably specific guidance for anyone seeking to develop conscious awareness during sleep states. He recommended maintaining a dream journal to track and learn from spiritual experiences, establishing consistent meditation practice before sleep to enhance conscious projection abilities, and setting clear intentions to remember and benefit from the spiritual education that occurs during sleep. Behind the scenes of what appears to be simple dream recall, the practice of journaling sleep experiences actually trains consciousness to remain more aware during spiritual travel. When you write down your dreams and spiritual experiences upon waking, you're strengthening the bridge between your sleeping spiritual education and your conscious understanding. This practice gradually develops your ability to participate more actively in the advanced curriculum that unfolds during sleep states. The impact of environmental preparation extends far beyond creating comfortable sleeping conditions. Reading 1367 emphasized that your bedroom environment, mental state before sleep, and spiritual preparation all directly influence the quality and consciousness of nocturnal spiritual journeys. Creating proper conditions isn't just about physical comfort, it's about establishing an atmosphere that supports expanded consciousness and spiritual travel. The decisions you make about your sleeping environment reflect your commitment to spiritual development and your readiness to participate in advanced consciousness training. When you approach bedtime with intention and spiritual preparation rather than just physical exhaustion, you're signaling to your soul that you're ready for deeper spiritual education. The mindset shift from ending the day to beginning spiritual study opens doorways to experiences that most people never consciously access. This preparation involves more than meditation and prayer. It includes creating an environment that supports spiritual expansion, releasing the day's concerns and tensions, and approaching sleep with genuine curiosity about what spiritual learning awaits you. Your bedroom becomes a sacred space for consciousness development rather than just a place for physical rest. Now, I want to reveal what Cayce discovered about the most advanced practitioners of conscious sleep travel, because understanding their experiences will show you the ultimate potential of developing these spiritual abilities. Write in the comments, Graduate School, if you're ready to transform your sleep into active spiritual education and consciousness development. The most advanced practitioners of conscious sleep travel ultimately demonstrate something that completely revolutionizes how we understand peaceful death during sleep. In Reading 1472-12, Cayce revealed that souls who transition peacefully during sleep often do so precisely because they've successfully completed their earthly lessons and achieved readiness for their next phase of spiritual development. Their peaceful departure doesn't represent tragedy or premature ending. It represents conscious graduation, from elementary spiritual education to advanced studies in higher dimensions of existence. This revelation transforms the entire mindset around death during sleep, from loss to achievement. Rather than viewing these transitions as sudden or unexpected events, Cayce's readings guide us to recognize them as evidence of spiritual completion and deliberate soul choice. The hidden truth behind peaceful sleep death is that the soul has carefully evaluated its earthly curriculum, determined that all necessary lessons have been mastered, and consciously chosen the gentlest possible method for transitioning to advanced spiritual education. The impact of understanding this changes everything about how we process the loss of loved ones who pass peacefully in their sleep, Behind the scenes of what appears to be sudden departure, the soul has been making sophisticated decisions about timing, readiness, and optimal conditions for graduation. The gentle nature of sleep-death reflects the soul's wisdom in choosing the path that minimizes trauma while maximizing spiritual advancement. What makes this even more extraordinary is what Cayce disclosed in reading 397629 about the continued journey of these graduated souls. Those who die peacefully during sleep often continue serving as guides and teachers for souls still navigating physical incarnation. Their gentle transition actually maintains stronger connections to the physical realm while allowing them to operate from higher spiritual dimensions, making them ideal helpers for those still learning earthly lessons. This continued service represents the ultimate transformation from student to teacher, where souls who mastered conscious transition become spiritual mentors for others preparing for their own eventual graduation. The decisions they made during their earthly spiritual development, their commitment to consciousness training, and their successful completion of physical lessons earn them positions as transition guides and spiritual educators. Their journey demonstrates that death during sleep isn't an ending, but a promotion to advanced spiritual service where they can assist other souls in making the same conscious transition they achieved. The gentle nature of their departure equips them with unique qualifications for helping others navigate the crossing from physical to spiritual existence with wisdom, comfort, and conscious awareness. Now, I want to explore the most profound discovery Cayce made about the silver cord and how understanding its function during sleep versus death reveals the ultimate secret about human consciousness and our eternal nature. Write in the comments, spiritual graduation, if you now see peaceful sleep transitions as evidence of souls completing their earthly curriculum and advancing to higher service. The ultimate secret about human consciousness lies in understanding what Cayce revealed about the silver cord and its profound role in distinguishing sleep from permanent death. In reading 57548, he described this energetic connection as the invisible lifeline that allows consciousness to travel vast distances outside the physical body during sleep, while maintaining the essential ability to return. This isn't metaphorical description or poetic language. Cayce was documenting an actual energetic phenomenon mentioned in biblical texts that connects our physical and spiritual bodies in ways that modern science is only beginning to comprehend. The transformation in understanding becomes complete when you realize what happens during the moment of death. During transition, the silver cord is consciously severed by the soul when it determines the time has come for permanent spiritual existence. In his readings, Cayce revealed that this severance is always a deliberate soul choice, never an accident or random occurrence. The hidden truth behind peaceful death during sleep is that the soul makes a conscious decision to release its energetic connection to physical form, allowing consciousness to continue its journey without the possibility of return. This revelation about conscious choice completely reframes how we understand mortality itself. Behind the scenes of what appears to be biological failure or medical circumstance, the soul is making sophisticated decisions about timing, readiness, and optimal conditions for permanent transition. The moment of cord severance represents the culmination of spiritual preparation and conscious choice, rather than involuntary cessation of life force. What makes this even more extraordinary is what Cayce disclosed in reading 57564 about spiritually advanced individuals who learn to consciously control their silver cord during earthly existence. These remarkable souls can extend their conscious spiritual travel during sleep to extraordinary distances and durations, while maintaining complete confidence in their ability to return. They become living bridges between physical and spiritual realms, bringing back vital information and spiritual guidance for others, still developing their consciousness abilities. The impact of understanding this reveals that every night when you sleep, you're participating in the same process that will eventually become your permanent transition. Your consciousness separates from physical form, travels through spiritual dimensions, and returns via the silver cord. The only difference between sleep and death lies in whether that cord remains intact or is consciously severed by your soul when it determines earthly graduation is complete. According to Cayce's 14,000 documented readings, sleep represents ongoing preparation for the ultimate consciousness adventure, your eventual conscious transition to purely spiritual existence. Every night provides training for your soul's eternal journey, developing the skills and awareness you'll need for permanent spiritual existence. Now, I want to share the most practical guidance Cayce provided for anyone seeking to develop conscious awareness of this process and prepare for their own eventual spiritual graduation through specific practices you can begin tonight. Write in the comments, silver cord. If this understanding of the energetic connection between sleep and death resonates with your own spiritual experiences. This profound understanding of consciousness, sleep, and death through Edgar Cayce's documented readings reveals that your nightly rest represents far more than physical recovery. It's ongoing spiritual education that prepares you for the most important journey your soul will ever take. The gentle transitions, the meaningful dreams, the sense of floating above your body, and those encounters with departed loved ones aren't random experiences. They're evidence that your consciousness is already participating in the spiritual curriculum that will serve you both in this lifetime and beyond. Understanding that peaceful death during sleep represents spiritual graduation rather than tragedy completely transforms how we view these transitions and how we can prepare for our own eventual journey. The silver cord that connects your physical and spiritual bodies during sleep, the practice departures that occur months before transition, and the soul school experiences that happen beyond conscious awareness all work together to ensure that when the time comes, your crossing will be filled with wisdom rather than fear. What strikes me most about Cayce's revelations is how they turn death from something we dread into something we can consciously prepare for through our nightly spiritual practice. Every meditation before sleep, every intention to remember our spiritual experiences, and every moment of recognizing our dreams as actual spiritual education contributes to our readiness for eventual conscious transition. If you've made it this far in our exploration of these profound teachings, you're clearly someone who understands that there's more to existence than what meets the eye. I'd love to have you join our community of consciousness explorers by subscribing to the channel. There's so much more we can discover together about the hidden truths that shape our spiritual journey. Leave a comment saying, "Consciousness never dies," if you've stayed with me through this entire exploration. It means something that you've taken this journey with me, and I genuinely appreciate the connection we've created through these remarkable discoveries. If this deep dive into Cayce's documented readings has opened new perspectives for you, a simple like helps more people discover these life-changing insights about consciousness and spiritual preparation. There's a video right here that complements this topic perfectly, exploring the specific techniques Cayce provided for developing conscious awareness during sleep states. Click and continue with me over there, because your spiritual education is just beginning.